Welcome everyone to my channel. I'm Leanne. If this is your first time here, please sit down. We're going to talk about Firestarter by Stephen King. And if you've been here before, you know the deal. I have this here for a reason. Yes, we're going to talk about this. But okay. Okay. So, this is a standalone. First by Stephen King. When we read it, it's a Stephen King book, obviously. And I've liked 2 out of the 4 books that I've ever read of Stephen King, so I'll read this one to see if I would like it. So, here is the blurb. In 1969, Andy McGee and Vicky Tomlinson participate in a drug experiment run by a veiled government agency known as the Ship. 1 year later, they marry. 2 years after that, their little girl, Charlie, sets her teddy bear on fire by looking at her. Now that Charlie is 8, she doesn't start fires anymore. Her parents have taught her to control her pyrokinesis, the ability to set anything, toys, clothes, even people, aflame. The shop knows about the wants this pig-tailed ultimate weapon. Top agents sent out to hunt down Charlie and her father on a ruthless and terrifying chase. Ranges from the streets of New York to the backwoods of Vermont. And once they get her, they plan to use Charlie's capacity for love, force her into developing a power as horrifyingly destructive as it is seductive. What they don't take into account is that even a Hal can know the pleasure of the whip hand and the satisfaction of revenge. Dun dun dun. So this genre is considered to be horror/thriller. More thriller than horror. Did this live up to my expectations? No. It did not. It didn't. And we'll get more into that down below. Further along in the video, okay? We'll discuss that further in the video. So, should you go and read this story? Yes. If you liked fast-paced action but slow build-up of characters with flashbacks shoved into the story to explain the background of the characters a little too much, you don't need a lot of a background. Dude, we get it, okay? You explained the background enough for us to understand it. No, if you cannot stand the plot of the book being slow to unravel, even though the pace is full of action. There's a lot of action going on. You jump right into it, okay? But there's not a lot of world building or developing of the plot in it. So I did DNF this, and I DNF'd this at 40-something% of the way through it, and it was at 183 is when I did pages, and this was out of 428. Yeah, 183 out of 428. I mean, I was almost about halfway through the book when I DNF'd it, so yes, it was not what I thought it was going to be, and I didn't like it. I put it down, and that's why this bookmark was here, so I could bookmark where I left off. Okay? So the characters. Alright, so if you don't want to be spoiled for what I did read, you can vamoose. If you want to be spoiled to the part where I did read to learn what I thought about the book from up to the point that I stopped, you can go ahead and continue. Leave a like, comment, or even a lovely subscription if you're going to leave, okay? Alright, so these are the characters I got to know from what I've read, okay? Some of them I just put in here because they were mentioned and they had little small parts. For the most part, this book is a chase down book. It is a chasing game. And the game is don't get caught. We're playing Duck, Duck, Goose here, okay? And you're the goose, and you need to catch the duck, and you need to do it quickly, okay? But the duck needs to vanish, and vanish quite good. That way, they don't get hunted down and taken captive, or killed. No, not killed, but no. Expunged, I guess, if you want to say something like that. The characters you meet as Andy McGee. He goes by Andy. His name is Andrew. he is the father of the little girl who can start fires. Now, he and his wife took part in an experiment back when they were in college for $200. And back then, $200 was a lot of money. Like, yeah, it was a lot of money back then. It wasn't just no cheapo thing then back now like it is nowadays. Like $200, that's nothing. Back then, it was like, that's a lot of money. Things worked differently back then, okay? So, they met while they were doing the experiment, and they both tripped. Okay? Their tripping experience was not really all that pleasant. Andy saw one guy flip out and pull out his own eyeball. Vicky, or Victoria Lingson, she was able to move things with her mind. Of course, Andy was able to do a lot of stuff. He met Ralph Baxter, who was a very bad person, through the experiment because he just suddenly appeared while they was tripping on these hallucinogenics, and learned that his name was Ralph Baxter, and learned a lot of stuff about him, including the fact that he liked to off people and was a very naughty guy. So, yeah. But he can also push. And what he means by push is that he can push his will onto others. He can make you think that a $1 bill is $500. And he can do it so well that it affects other people who weren't even in the vicinity of it, as long as they touched a dollar bill that was affected. But it causes them a backlash. It gives him a headache, a migraine, and every time he uses it, it gets worse. If he doesn't rest between using it, it becomes a full-blown knock you out migraine, where you're just out like a light until it goes away. Vicky could push things closed. She was a telekinesis, like she could move things with her mind, like occasionally shut fridge doors, but not all the time. She couldn't do it all the time, but she could do it. Okay. Vicky ended up being killed, and that's what started off the whole running from the shop. So basically, Charlene McGee, she goes over to a friend's house to spend the night after a camp, and the shop panics and goes and tortures the mother to find out where the child is, then kills the poor mother, so Vicky ends up dying. Andy finds her and realizes that she's dead and that they're after her, Charlie. So they go to Charlie's friend's house, pick Charlie up, and then they go to bring her to the shop because they want to experiment on her to see what she can do. Of course, in the beginning of this book, Andy and Charlie are running, so obviously he got Charlie back. I don't know if they do a flashback about whether or not they get Charlie back, but obviously they do. So there's a lot of flashbacks in here, back and forth, and all that stuff. He pushes a cab driver to take him all the way to Albany in New York City as they're running from, Albany. So he says, bring us to Albany, the airport in Albany. Makes up a lie, pushes the cab driver with the $500 bill, so there's actually a $1 bill. And, they get there. All the while, these guys are tailing them. Norville Bates and John Mayo, they are tailing him in this. And they, of course, escape barely. They make it there. And he's like, I need a minute. Honey, I need you to go and collect money. So she gets sent off to the payphones to push the payphones. Because Charlie can push the payphones and make money come out of them, but she can also set fires. And that's what she does, is she pushes the payphones, but it gets to be too much, and she had heard some soldier dude talking on the phone, being very disrespectful to his girlfriend and everything like that. And then that's where Eddie Delgado comes in, where she sets his shoes on. And he comes into the ladies' room to push him in the toilet to pull him off. And he gets taken away by security. And of course by the shop when they find out about it. So they escape the airport and they're trying to hitchhike to go to Vermont, where his father's lands were situated, where most people don't know about them. And they hitchhike with a guy named Jim Paulson, who takes them as far as Hastings Glen before dropping them off and leaving. They get a hotel for the night in Hastings Glens, and this is where the whole flip-flop thing comes in. So you learn that Dr. Wainless is the one ahead in charge of handing out the experiments, which is called Lot 6, which was what put into Vicky and Andy and gave them their powers, and of course gave Charlie her powers, even though she didn't take part in the experiment. Dr. Wainless is a little crazy, but he's like, he knows that Charlie can start fires, they all do in the shop, and that he's like, leave it alone. Kill her and be done with it. Just offer. That's just all you need to do. But Cap Hollister, who is in charge of the shop, doesn't want to. He wants to take her in, experiment on her, and hopefully train her to be a weapon for America. Protect America. He calls in a lot of people to do this, to search. You have Orville Jamison and Ray Knowles, who are agents tracking them down. And actually, they were this close to capturing them in Hastings Glen and didn't even know it. But when they figured it out, they did corner them. Okay. And with Albert Steinwitz, and Norville Bates and John Mayo. So all 5 of their agencies are there, and they're trying to capture 2 people. And it doesn't work. And this is why, okay? So they leave the hotel in the morning, and they go to hitchhike a little bit, and Irving Manders picks them up. Now, Irving Manders is like a little girl and this man. First she thinks it's a kidnapping, like he's kidnapping her. And then he finds out that they're just really on the run and they need help. So he's willing to give that help. Ray and Orville are down the hill on the other side of the hotel. They're going up to the hotel that they stayed at to check to see if they could find anybody. Flat tire. So they literally missed them by minutes. Okay? Minutes. So when they find out that they're with Irving Manders and Norma Manders, who took a liking to the little girl, they go to the property to get them back. And the little girl, well, she shows what she's capable of. Exploding fuel tanks, burning people alive to protect them, and everything. So Irving Manders is like, you take this little beat up truck and you go and you protect your little girl. Okay? Now, she does kill Albert. She does kill, I believe she kills Norville. The others run away because they're scared shitless. And I would be too if something got caught on fire and it was a little girl doing it. Because you're trying to go after her daddy. Yeah, no. You get introduced to John Rainbird, who is like a stoic guy who doesn't feel no emotions. He just does everything with a specific time and within a specific manner and doesn't like to be corrupted in any way. And he was sent to kill Dr. Wainless by Cap Hollister because he wanted to put Dr. Wainless out because Dr. Wainless had a stroke and was just being annoying. So he sent him to be offed. Now, I do not know anything that happens after they get to the cabin where he's fixing it up, where his father's cabin was, and he's fixing it up in Tashmore. So that's all I really know. Yep. So that's as far as I got. I couldn't do it no more. I had blocked out specifically 6 days. 6 days to read this book, okay? 6 days. 70 or so pages a day. And I just, in those 6 days, I read 183 pages. That's how much I couldn't get into it. And I was like, okay, the next day I've got to start reading this book, and I can't afford to continue reading this book. So then I was like, I'll put it down, and maybe by the end of March, if I can get to it, I'll get back to it. But then I just decided, after finishing off a book within the allotted amount of time I gave it, no. No. No, I'm DNFing it, because I'm not going to force myself to read a book that took me 6 days to just get 183 pages in. That's just, no, I'm not doing it. I can't get into the book. I'm not able to connect to the people and everything. So, like, I've seen the movie. I just couldn't get into the book. Okay. So, my favorite character was Irving Manders, because he was ready to step in and help without knowing or understanding the situation. And when he understood the situation, he was willing to help out even more. My most disliked character was Cat Hollister, because of his desire to hunt down a little girl to study her and potentially use her for his own means, to the point of wanting to off her father so he would not become a problem in the future. Because obviously they had her once and he stole her back. So they're like, no, we don't want to risk it. Off him. What stood out as memorable was how protective Andrew was of his daughter. Even though he was terrified of her powers and his own, but he was more afraid of losing his daughter like he did his wife. It's like he lost his wife. But they loved her. And he loves her so much. And he's just so terrified of losing her. But he's also afraid of her powers, because her powers were dangerous. And, I mean, when things didn't go her way as a baby, she was lighting things on fire, including her own hair, including her mother. So, like, yeah, he loved her and he protected her as best as he could, from what I read. But was still terrified of her powers. Not her powers. My favorite passage from the story is, this is Cap Hollister thinking this now. Okay? The little girl, Wayneless, saying, the power to someday crack the very planet in two, like a china plate in a shooting gallery. Ridiculous, of course. And then there's some more words in there, but they weren't important. She was a little girl, not a doomsday weapon, and they had to hang on to her at least long enough to document what she was and to chart what she could be. That alone would be enough to reactivate the Lot 6 testing program, if she could be persuaded to use her powers for the good of the country. So much better. Now, there was only 3 surviving members of the Lot 6, and I think there was like 12 people who participated in it. And one of them was just quietly living his life, being able to do very little. I don't remember what it was he could do. But yeah. That's literally all that was left. Everybody else died. Some took their lives. Some died because of some unknown reaction. And after the fact, and I think two of them died while the experiment was going on. So, yeah, there's my favorite quote. And the reason why this is my favorite quote is because this is something you don't say. You don't say to a little girl. You don't say this at all, but Andy does say this to the little girl, speaking about her powers and how they're dangerous, and liking it to lighters. You're just one great big Zippo lighter. So he's saying that she's just one big Zippo lighter, like click a switch, and you're like a Zippo lighter, lighting things on fire. And I like it only in the sense that he's trying to lay down how devastating her powers are, but he does it to a Zippo lighter. You could do it to a forest fire, liken her to a forest fire. That would have been even better, because then she would know how dangerous that is, because obviously forest fires are extremely dangerous. I mean, lighters are of course dangerous for children, and most children think that's like a big oh no. So, in his perspective, liking it to a Zippo lighter is like saying, this is how dangerous it is, you need to keep a cap on it. You need to keep it closed. we need to not allow this power to come out. What I thought about the end of the book? I don't know. I never got to the end. But I mean, if you want me to crack it open and read the ending, I can. Tell you about it, but yeah, I never got to the ending. What book did it remind me of? Carrie. Because Carrie has a power. Charlie has a power. And they're both girls with powers. And they're young girls. And they're not even out of their teens. One of them's not even a teenager. And the other one is not even Carrie is not even out of her powers. However, I want this noted. I have not read Carrie. I don't even own Carrie. I have not read it. Okay, yet. I have only ever seen movies. Carrie 1 and Carrie and Carrie 2. Way back. Long time ago, Carrie. Not the new Carries. But yes, I have seen those Carrie movies. A long time ago. But it's just the girls with powers, okay? And they're young. This book is a standalone, as you know. I need to read the Zone too. I rated this a 1.5 because it did not bring me to care about any of the characters or what was going on around them. Sure, I felt sorry for the little girl being woken up at night, having to travel all the time, never being able to rest properly, having to wear the same dirty clothes over and over again, not have the basic enemies like shelter, food, water, things like that. I mean, I was sad for the little girl, but I didn't feel no empathy for any of the other characters, and the plot was just too slow going, even though there was a lot of pace. A lot of running, and a lot of gunfire, and a lot of near misses. And it was all set by the flashbacks, which, okay, yeah. You know who I didn't talk about? I didn't talk about Quincy. The one who told him about... I didn't talk about Quincy Termont. The one who told Andy about the experiments and who told Andy to keep quiet and shut up about his daughter. You know, like, don't let them know. My bet is that Quincy told Cap all about the powers. Unless they tapped the power line, the phones, and lined it that way. But, I just couldn't get into it the way I could, like the Talisman and the Black House. So far, those are the only two successful Stephen King books I have read. I mean, it could be like a 5-star for somebody out there. It could be a 5-star for you, for all I know. But it just wasn't for me, and that's just the way I feel. Hope I don't offend nobody in that. I mean, Stephen King is a wonderful author. He's got a lot of successful books out there. You just gotta find your niche when it comes to Stephen King, because Stephen King has his hits and misses. Like, some people love The Stand. Some people love Misery. Some people hate Cujo, or even the Black House or the Talisman. How about you, Gavin? Read it all. Gavin reads all the Stephen King's. He read Talisman and he didn't like it, but I loved it. And I loved Misery, and he loves Misery. And it's just like, you gotta find what you like, okay? You just gotta find what you like. Stephen King is a hit and miss with his books, because they're all different. Like, I didn't really like the Tommyknockers, or The Girl Who Loved Tom Gordon, or Firestarter. Actually, that's 3 books. I did get rid of Tommyknockers, even though it's a very old book and a very old copy. I don't see no reason to keep it when I didn't really enjoy it. I mean, I was holding on to it because of my mom. It was her book, but I have Misery, which is her book, and I liked Misery. Wish there was more of Misery. It's a smaller book and smaller read. But yeah, there's that. So with that, if you think I deserve a like, comment, or even your lovely subscription, drop it down below. I will see you next illusion.